Welcome to my channel. Now, there was a mayoral debate for the city of Los Angeles yesterday at the Skirball Center up there at the Mulholland, the Getty Center area, and things did not go well for the incumbent, Karen Bass, and Spencer Pratt. Yes, Spencer Pratt, the reality star and USC alum, is actually trending. So let's get right into it. Now, the debate was basically yesterday, like I aforementioned, and the candidates on stage was Karen Bass, the incumbent. I believe her name is Nithya Raman, and Spencer Pratt. Now, the main debate topics was homelessness, crime, public safety, wildfire response, immigration, housing, affordability, and basically general quality of life in the city of Los Angeles. Now, it did not go well for the mayor because the day of the day of the debate, and the mayor is bragging about, homelessness is down and all of that. A homeless encampment shut down the 110 freeway on both directions in the San Pedro area. So that did not go well. Now, Bass, she basically, um, you know, defended herself because Pratt was on the offense. And now Miss Ramen, and she's trending. They calling her ramen noodle online. I'm just saying, she literally needs to get off the stage. No disrespect, because it's clearly a two-person race between Spencer Pratt and the mayor. Now, the mayor has experience. The mayor was a senator. I'm sure she was city council. She worked her way up. She did a whole lot of things, but she was called out by Mr. Pratt on some things. Now, one of the things that Mr. Pratt called her out on is, and early in her career, of her association with a group called the Venceremos Brigade. Venceremos Brigade, and they call them the Brigadistas. And that's, in my mind, it hit me, okay, now that's why she likes to call us Angelinos, because that's like code word. And the, what is this? Venceremos Brigade. Okay, let's just do some little history on that. I got a little conversation on that. Now, the Venceremos Brigade. Now, in the 1970s, and this is basically Google, I basically put in Karen Bass association with the communist movement, and it basically says the Venceremos Brigade in the 1970s, Bass organized trips to Cuba, which the Venceremos Brigade was a group that supported the Cuban Revolution. And supporting the Cuban Revolution, I'm sitting back saying, hey, come on, Bass, let's support, the Black Revolution here in the city of Los Angeles. Okay, now her controversial ties. Now, the critics have pointed out that the Venceremos Brigade had links to radical left groups, including the Weather Underground and the M19 Communist Organization. Okay, now, and it also says, in all fairness, there's no evidence of violence and all of that. And when there's no evidence of violence, that basically means there was no conviction or direct ties. So that was one situation because, I know some individuals. I was in a think tank. I was only two black men in the think tank of mostly white females, and they literally was calling her Commie Karen. So there is some communism and some socialism connection to that. And basically, this is how you can actually, the talking points when we're going to stop Trump, we're going to stop ICE, we're going to stop the federal government, meaning there's some socialism and some communism things attached to that. But Spencer Pratt also called her out on the wildfires. Just like it mentioned that the topics of discussion was about the wildfires. Homelessness was the top one. Let me see here. Homelessness was the top one. Crime and public safety was number two. The wildfires number three. Immigration, and we know her stance on immigration because she wants to. She went out and blocked ICE and spent approximately $500,000 to put, signs in public parks and destinations, basically saying that the ICE and federal agents are not able to detain or arrest illegal immigrants, in which the federal government totally debunked that because the federal government could actually go wherever they want to go. So the wildfires to me was the number one topic. My birthday was January 6th. And when I woke up from a beautiful birthday, I was out on the beach, went out on the balcony, and I looked to my north and I saw smoke and I smelled fire. I'm like, what's going on? Went to the TV. And for 48 hours, the mayor, I'm looking for a press conference or something to that magnitude. But the mayor was literally not out of the city, not out of the county, not out of the state, but she was out of the nation, and she was in Africa for whatever reasons. This is something that she's going to have to tell us all about. And Spencer Pratt called her out on it. Okay. And then the key components for me, was the fact that Spencer Pratt called her out on there was no water in the reservoirs. They went back and forth, and Bass's argument was that was for drinking water, in which we drink in bottles. So that we could totally debunk that theory. But basically the reservoirs were empty. That was actually due to wildfires, and he said he would have them filled, which will help combat the wildfires. And then, since she was out of town, he brought up another conversation. I sat back and I said, wait a minute, what's going on? He brought up another conversation because Karen Bass's deputy mayor, usually the deputy mayor step up, in charge of public safety in situations like this. But Karen Bass's deputy mayor was on house arrest because of a bomb threat. You think I'm making this up. Like I said, I give you the receipts. Okay, now here's the receipts from Google. Former Los Angeles Deputy Mayor of Public Safety Brian K. Williams was sentenced in October of 2025 to 1 year of probation and 50 hours of community service for making a fake bomb threat against City Hall. Williams, who served under Mayor Bass, admitted to falsely reporting a threat in October of 2024 to the LAPD and officials. And the brother, like I said, his name is Brian K. Williams. He's a brother. And to my understanding, and like I said, I got a little common sense, and I'm sure, there was some bickering or some disagreements, and he basically manned up and said, look, I'll blow this up. And next thing you know, he was on house arrest at one of the most catastrophic events in modern history when it comes to wildfires, and the mayor was out of the country in Africa attending to other business. And that got me. So in terms of, Spencer Pratt, this is why, a lot of it, he's trending. And plus he went to USC, he's a USC alum, and he's Los Angeles native. And he lost his home in the wildfires. His parents lost his home. And he also mentioned that he lost the rental property in Palisades as well. So it's direct. But the argument was, does he have any experience being a reality star? And my response to that is, you really don't need to have experience. You got to surround yourself with some of the best people, because if Arnold Schwarzenegger, an actor, could be the governor of the state of California, then this reality star with the best people around him. He went to USC, so that's good pedigree. USC is worldwide, world renowned, one of the best institutions when it comes to, connectability, when it comes to philanthropy, and when it comes to, people being smart. So if he surrounds himself with the right people, I think he can actually get the job done. And basically, like I said, if Arnold Schwarzenegger, an actor, can be the governor of the state of California, then Spencer Pratt, a reality star, can actually be the mayor of Los Angeles. And then the other situation, which Bass is like, she's the incumbent. So if you're the incumbent, you are in charge and responsible for what's going on right now. And the main talking points that I heard Mayor Bass say was that, homelessness has went down in the last 2 years. Homelessness has went down in the last 2 years. And like I said, it doesn't pass the eye test. It doesn't pass the smell test. But, it's documented that homelessness has went down. Okay. Now, the 2023 was considered, the modern peak of homelessness. Okay. 2024 marked the first slight decline after years of increases. And then 2025 showed a large drop, including declines in unsheltered streets, homelessness, and encampments. Okay. Now, additional context. Now, about 43,669 people were counted within the city. Okay, within the city, because my argument was they just moved them from the city to the county, and they can actually cook the books. Now, the officials reported a 17.5 reduction in street homelessness since late 2022, but critics and researchers note that, the point in time counts can be undercounted, and you can cook the books. Okay, so the Los Angeles mayoral race is heating up. There's two candidates, the incumbent Mayor Bass versus Spencer Pratt, the reality star and USC alum. It is what it is. And it's time to really understand, what's going on, because we know her stance on immigration. She's, like I said, her connections, being a career politician, being an insider, you know, her connections, she's like I said, her hands are tied. So basically they're going to fight to continue to put her in charge, because like I said, if they make you, they could break you. If it costs 500 million to run a campaign and they invest in that, they want to see a return on their investment. So this is why you got to work with these people, and these people are people that I have no clue about. But when people talk about me getting into politics, like I said, I can't, from that perspective, only as an independent, because like I said, if they give you money, if they spend the big bucks for the commercials and all of that, then you're going to have to pay that back with policies that's going to benefit them at the sacrifice of your own people. So with that being said, Spencer Pratt, in my personal opinion, won the debate. He's trending right now, and we'll see, because the primaries, I believe, is June 2nd. So we'll see, how that all plays out. But that's my recap on the Los Angeles mayoral debate last night. That was on Telemundo and Channel 4 up at the Skirball Center at the Getty Center. So with that being said, you have an amazing day. This is your man signing out. Hit that like, hit that notification, hit the subscription. See you next time. This is your man Bushan Glover. Peace out.